Good morning. I hope that you are having a creative and productive day, as much time as you can squeeze out of your other busy schedules. I am here to make some snippets. Let me explain why. Well, it's really quite easy to understand. I have had, because of my health issue for the last year, I've had plenty of time to enjoy watching other people's videos, as you can imagine, and with particular attention to Gail Agostinelli, of course. Good morning, Gail. This is something that I had just really never delved into, and I decided that today was the day. First thing that I got out was my equipment, and I chose just one sheet of glue paper to make the backgrounds. I decided that this would be a nice width, and they could be, I'm going to do them with all in paper because it's just going to be the background of the snippets, because that way I would be able to add lace, fabric, etc. And I've got my sewing machine set up, which took a bit, because when you haven't worked on your sewing machine in quite a while, you have to decide how you're going to do this threading. And but I was very lucky, and I guess many eons of sewing does come to in the end and help me along with that problem. So the sewing machine is over there ready and waiting. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make these pretty. I'm going to glue bits of papers down, and then off camera I will do some stitching on here to absolutely make sure that I hold down everything that I have glued down, and I will share that with you in my photo at the end. So let's get started. I brought down my good friend, and those of you who have been with me for ages know that this was the only trove of small bits and pieces, leftovers, so to speak, that I had for ages, for years, maybe 2 years. And, well, that good friend has since grown into, put her out of the way, has grown into this part of this pile of papers that I keep on my table at all times. I think it's more in the category of a security blanket, if you want to be very truthful, if I want to be very truthful about it. Pieces of paper. Oh my, isn't that pretty? Well, we're just going to have to go through here and find some bits and bobs of paper that will suit for the job at hand. These are some. These two are leftovers from some Tattered Angels Glimmer Mist sprayed paper that I did ages ago. And let's see what else we might have. Some more of that in yellow. Isn't that pretty? Well, this is a definite, well, more of it. It seems to be the basket that contains the goodies here. A little bit of purple. Why not? Small bits of green painter's paper. A piece of my own digi. I want these bits to be rather smallish, so that they work with what I've cut. No, not cut, sorry. Torn with my trusty ruler, tear ruler. Oh, isn't that pretty? That was from my original paint cleanup book. Little did I know that that would be a treasure in the future. Alrighty, I have a phone call coming in that I must take. I will be right back. Here I am, and I dug a little more deeply and found some more pretty papers. We need some of that. Yes, we do. Well, as you can see, this would just go on and on. So I think I'm going to set this basket aside. And let's see what we can see in the next one. I think these papers might be just a smidge bigger. Oh my, some green and yellow. We can certainly use that. Some nice neutrals. That one can get filed in a circular file. Oh my. I don't know how fast these will be used up in the process here. I might have to have another let my fingers do the walking situation. It's a nice neutral. And these are some larger papers at the bottom. Yes. And I think this bin is again larger papers. Oh, wonderful. Some of Rachel at Roxy Creations, some of her store paper. Cannot manage to do this job without some of that. And some thinner brown paper. Yes, larger pieces. So let's put this one and this one and this one out of harm's way, and let's start with this pile. It would be interesting to see how far that we get. Now, I'm going to use my Yoo-Hoo. And my smaller glue book, and we're off to the races. Just was so fascinated by the fact that I had no thought about why I was enjoying watching everyone else use their clusters. And I was admiring them and not thinking, not personalizing, I guess, realizing that, well, that's wonderful, Carol. You think they're wonderful, but you don't have any. Is there a reason for that? I have some small clusters that I have made, but I don't have many left, and they have fabric and lace on them, and I thought, well, let's just see what we can do here. They seem to come in so handy for attaching to the edge of pages as tags, or just added pretties. I'm getting a little bit better feel for the size that I need to have now. I didn't want them to be too narrow. I didn't want them to be too wide. And I'm seeing that this does work. Yes, it does. And after these are sewn, between the glue and the stitching, this should certainly do something here. Let's have some neutral. Oh my, I just noticed that I do not have any music paper here. Well, we'll have to see about that situation. In fact, we're going to see about that right now. This is the usual magazine glue book that I use. Let's get this one and find a piece of music paper in my trove here. These are my neutrals that I keep handy at all times. There it is. I see some music. There we go. Mission accomplished. That box I keep right next to me at my right hand. Now, well, that's going to feel better now. Well, not completely. I don't have any print. Goodness gracious, what would Rachel Roxy Creations think of that? I think she might get the vapors. Alrighty, back we go. Back we go. This is very annoying because one of the results of my chemo was that I get a little bit of numbness at the tips of my fingers and the bottom of my feet. And it's supposed to go away with time. Oh my, what a nice piece of what a nice piece that is. I think I'm just going to use it instead of thinking that that ought to stay in there for life. Let's just use this up a bit. Okay, well now, let's get back to I'm using more Yoo-hoo than I usually use, but not as much, so that I can sew and not worry about what happens. Let's have a little of this. And now let's get a bit colorful here. Goodness. Let's see where we are now. Well, I'm liking that very much. Can be cut or used as is, as a belly band. Any number of possibilities. Let's have a little bit more punch of color. Now this one, as you can see, I could have done better with gluing, but I'm not going to worry about it too terribly much because I'm going to sew. There. That's better. How about a little bit of, how about my piece of and at the very bottom, maybe just a little hint of lace stitching. And right there. So, one down and ready for the sewing machine. Let's get another one going. Start at the top with our printy paper. William Peck. Emmett Harrington. Alrighty. And a piece of this. This is brown wrapping paper from Walmart. Let's see what else we have here. Turn this around now. Which side am I going to use? Oh, that one, definitely. Definitely. This paper was a very old, maybe 1930s book of cross-stitch patterns. You'd have to have very good eyes to see it, believe me. Use this whole piece. This was a doily, paper doily. What else have we got here in the line of color? Well, look what I see. Yes, absolutely, the Thurber book. I used this old Thurber book for at least 2 years as my paint cleaning book. And this is what it looked like. Goodness gracious, someone must know that I'm sitting down to join you. I'll be right back. This was the Thurber book with the paint cleanup. It was an inexpensive paper. You can feel it every time you tear it because it just seems to want to, it looks for an excuse to disintegrate, but I certainly have all of those papers left over after about 5 years, so I guess it doesn't disintegrate as much as I thought it would. Let's have a little bit of music here while we're at it. And I want a little bit more green here. Let's have some of that green. Or do I want that side? Well, I think I'm going to live dangerously and have the side that looks like it was a bird's wing. And one more tiny bit for this corner. And there we go. So, now we have 2. Now, I'm not going to take up any of your time with this repetitive work, but what I'm going to do now is turn off the camera and go over to my table and sew on these 2 pieces so that you will see what the finished product will be. I have 4 more to work on, and that should hold me for a while. I'll be right back as soon as I have some sewing on here. Well, here we are back, and I have sewn on these 2 snippet pieces. As you can see, the hodgepodge of sewing on it certainly does everything that's necessary besides a little bit of Yoo-hoo glue and the stitching to keep this very ready to be used. It can be cut at lengths that I might desire, and I have 4 more to make. I do hope that you have enjoyed this little visit with me this morning, and if you have, I would appreciate you giving me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment. I do answer all of them, and I would appreciate your subscribing to my channel. Better late than never. Carol rides again here. Oh my, didn't I look at everyone and say, gee, aren't those wonderful? And then it dawned on me, the light bulb went on. I didn't have any. Well, I'm trying to rectify that. Bye now.